Здравейте, вие сте Свръхчовекът с Георги Ненов, подкастът, който всеки вторник ви разказва истории, които вдъхновяват. Днешният ни епизод ще бъде на английски език. На гости ми е Адриен Баки, който е създател на една компания, която се казва ChibiPhoenix. Те занимават с видеоигри и забавление. I will be switching to English now because my guest is a French person and my French unfortunately is very bad. Neda is not in Bulgaria at the moment, so I will be talking to him in English. He is called Adrien Bacchi and he is the founder of ChibiPhoenix, a video game and entertainment company based in Sofia. So before we go to the podcast, I would like to express my deepest gratitude to the companies that are supporting the podcast and every episode to come to you every Tuesday. So thank you. Преминаването на Свръхчовекът с Георги Ненов към видео нямаше да бъде възможно без подкрепата на Dinaphos. Затова с Монката искрено ги препоръчваме като място, на което можеш да намериш продукти и решения за фото, видео, бродкаст и кинооборудване, както за любители, така и за професионалисти. От създаването си през 2003 година екипът на Dinaphos има една основна ценност – да работи за клиентите и за общността. В техния шоурум или по телефона ще получиш качествена консултация за това как лесно и изгодно да оборудваш твоето студио. Разбери повече на dinaphos.bg. Използвай промокод SUPERHUMAN21, за да получиш свръхчовешка отстъпка. Ако развивате стартиращ бизнес, имате нужда от цялостна бизнес стратегия и финансиране за устойчив растеж, Новатор България са хората, които вярвам, че могат да ви помогнат. Основателят на компанията Даниел Петков е моят най-добър приятел, моят приятел за цели и моят съветник в бизнес развитието и изграждането на Свръхчовекът с Георги Ненов. През идните месеци 100 български компании напълно безплатно ще получат оценка на проектите си, а 10 най-добри от тях ще участват в програма на компанията за набиране на рисков капитал. Победителят в цялата програма ще получи директна инвестиция от Новатор. Присъединете се към компаниите, на които Новатор вече помогна. Това са CloudCard, Recheck, Travel by Electric, ProLaspos и Our Love. Научете повече на novator.bg. Adrien, thank you for being on the podcast. It's a great pleasure having you here and can't wait for our conversation.
Thank you for the invitation. I'm very grateful for this moment. And I want us to have a great time.
Yeah, me too.
Just a good conversation.
Thank you very much. It's a very interesting story how we met. Actually, Anna Grozdanova, who was here a couple of episodes ago, in the beginning of 2021, when I met her, she said that she's going to make a seminar about Wim Hof's method of, the Iceman. And there, in April, I saw a man with a blue beard, thinking, this guy is here. I saw that people were translating for you when some things were spoken in Bulgarian. And then few months later, I saw you on Facebook post or LinkedIn, and I asked Irina from the Recursive, hey, who is this guy? I met him on the Wim Hof seminar, but we didn't introduce each other, so we couldn't say hi, and we were all in this practices of breathing and ice bathing and so on. And Irina said, hey, this is Adrien. He's having a gaming company and a part of the French Tech community in Bulgaria. And I asked her, so he is in Bulgaria, French person that's here growing a company and doing business in Bulgaria. And she was like, yeah, he's very cool. You should definitely meet him. And I messaged you and come to see you, which was really absolutely, I have absolutely no expectations, but it was such an interesting and although brief conversation. And I was like, okay, I will definitely have Adrien on the podcast because you live here. You've married your wife, who is Portuguese, and decided to live and raise your kids here. And you're so amazed by Bulgarian nature. And I was like, there are Bulgarians that don't like Bulgaria as much as Adrien does. Therefore, I would definitely want to have him here. So I'm very, very thankful for having you here.
Thank you very much.
Can you briefly explain to what you are working on at the moment with a couple of words so people can understand and have a idea where our conversation will be going in the next couple of hours, and then we can go back to your education and how your life went into entrepreneurship and how Bulgaria chose you or you chose Bulgaria, because in the conversation before the actual recording you said that the company has been founded here in 2008, which is 13 years ago.
What we are working on is to revolutionize the video game as an art medium and to really evolve the medium as a way of expressing, of telling stories and feelings and and creating emotions and creating interactions. I have a certain vision of the type of game that we can create and the type of interaction, and we are very much based into stories, historically, because okay, we've been in Bulgaria for 13 years now. So we arrived in 2008 with my two partners, Alex and Laurent. We created our business in Belgium in 2006. So now that's like a 15 years story, soon to be 16 actually. And when we met, so it's a long story of friendship. If you really want to go back in time, my friend Alexandre Pensiera is also a French from Italian origins, and we met when we were 16. We were 16 and we connected on video games, manga, books, comic books, sci-fi. We were the nerds in school, the bizarre guys that are not smoking, so we were not with the cool skaters that were having fun on the other side of the courtyard. We were on the side with the uncool nerds. It was fine. Spending weekends, in book libraries, reading books. It's so cool. And we kept this friendship. And then I met Laurent in my first job in Belgium. And we connected very fast. Same stuff, video games, manga, nerd and geek culture. And with this, we became flatmates. So we even shared a cat together. It's still alive. And yeah, we made our business together. But at the origin of everything we do, there is this huge, deep passion for storytelling, reading stories, reading manga, all the visual art, the Japanese visual arts, Western visual arts, and that's just deep. That's just the DNA, and we didn't start making this business. But I really clearly, vividly remember 2007 when so Laurent, the third partner, was my flatmate. I was seeing him spending his nights and weekends, just geeking, making his own comics online, and he was creating something called Dragon Ball Multiverse for the fans of Dragon Ball. And at the time, I was like, "What's your deal with this?" He was imagining and he was story writing the sequel of Dragon Ball. So for those that know, before Dragon Ball Super, he made in between this story called Dragon Ball Multiverse. And at some point, I'm asking, okay, but how many readers do you have? You don't have advertising and all, but okay, how many people are visiting your site? And he was like, 100,000 every day. I was like, wow, 100,000 readers? And you don't put advertising there? So that was the beginning of a conversation. Obviously, he's not the business person in the group. And at the time we started our first venture, our first business was we were providing email marketing services for affiliate platforms. Mm-hmm. Because we were coming from this type of business. And we knew that our previous employer, they were really bad at sending emails. They were just piling databases and databases of emails, and they were not shooting them. So we offered this service based on performance, and that worked. That was really the first business that worked. And that's about the year we moved to Bulgaria. And after several years doing this and growing it, and like in 2010, we were sending 14 million emails per day.
Wow.
A long story short, by optimizing, we became spammers. But it was not our intention to become spammers. It's just that over-optimization leads you to that.
To spam.
Yeah. Well, like if you're a social media platform and you're over-optimized, you become some kind of hypnosis machine for the masses. You don't necessarily design it for that in the beginning, but optimizing leads you to that. It's another topic. So in 2010, I really had enough of the email marketing business. I was like, oh, I mean, it was making a lot of money. I was 29, but that was just too much. It was really repetitive. It was boring. I thought that I had also completed the game. I was like, okay, now I'm a master. I know how to make money. This is easy. It's going to be forever. I want to do something creative. Also, to really go back to the origin story, my mom is a painter and an art teacher, and my father is a painter and an art teacher. So my connection to visual arts really goes to the roots. And I really grew up with comics, Japanese animation. So it was connected with my partner that was doing his amateur comics, Dragon Ball Multiverse, that was very famous, getting more and more famous, big communities. I was like, okay, let's try to do something professional out of that. And we created our first creative project called Amilova. It's a comic book publishing house that has a digital platform. So amilova.com, it's still there. We invested a lot in this project. We had this vision, that we want to free the artists from domination from publishing houses that are just exploiting them and taking all their shares and copyrights. And we wanted to create a fairer world where we will share profits directly with the creators and all. Kind of an OnlyFans for the comic book industry. But with the idea was great. We wanted to create our own stuff. We wanted to find also artists from everywhere in the world, from Argentina, Russia, translate them and publish them in France or different countries. So we actually physically published artists from different countries. Like we have published more than 10 different artists. But we made our own art. So I personally wrote 3 books, Amilova 1, 2, and 3. My partner Laurent wrote also 3 books. Hemisphere 1, 2, 3 that have been translated in Bulgarian and that were available for some time. So we pushed the concept. We thought, okay, we are here. We want to contribute somehow. Let's just do it. We had a team with nearly a bit more than 10 people, I think. So we hired a team here in Sofia. And after a year and a half, we just went miserably bankrupt.
Why? What happened?
Well, stupidity happened.
Stupidity happened.
It's all very, very simple in the end. Is that was complete hubris that I really thought that we were smart at the time. I thought, oh, I'm so smart with my email business that it doesn't need me anymore. So now I can be an artist. And like in my mind, I was a billionaire. I was like the new Mark Zuckerberg, and that was done. I mean, I was like, okay, this is done. Now, next, become an artist. And that was just super naive and stupid. And I was in this mentality and this mindset that I just need to start something and just go for it, and it's gonna work. And it's about trying ideas and failing, but it wasn't necessarily completely wrong, but the comic book publishing business, we went there without experience and without skills and without business plan. So we went there with a lot of passion, a lot of naivety, and we just got smashed by reality to the ground path. So the reality is that without a business plan, like at least a little business plan, you're not going anywhere.
How did you learn that lesson when the bankruptcy became reality? Did you?
Yeah, we were bankrupted. Well, we didn't physically bankrupted, let's say, because
in Bulgaria it's not.
It was the same business structure as ChibiPhoenix. Well, no, but we the project inside the structure bankrupted, so we had to fire the people. It was a very sad moment. I was personally burnt out. because to me it was mental bankruptcy, and it was burning out as an entrepreneur, because I was coming from, I come from, we started the business with 2,000 euros like in 2006, so it's really from not much. And we got this rise from 2008 to 2010, where we grew out of nowhere, and all of a sudden we were making some money, and it was like, whoa. And it felt powerful. It felt like a lot of adrenaline. And from 2010 and 2012, it was just the fall, the rise and fall, and that was the fall. And that was hard, because during all this time we felt like we were falling. We felt like the creative project Amilova was going nowhere, and we experimented a lot of stuff. But meanwhile, the email business started falling as well. So we actually bankrupted the email business slowly. But we had clients that we lost. We had blacklist on our email servers. We had a lot of problems, and meanwhile, the creative project Amilova was hyper demanding, because we had to manage the team, we had to manage the technical aspect. I was writing scenarios at night, and you always have this, and during weekends and all, you always have this idea that you can be creative after work. I don't know. I have sometimes this idea like, okay, when I'm done with work, I get a glass of wine, it's 11 p.m. and now I write. Oh no, it's 11 p.m. You're just burnt out and you just want to sleep, and you force yourself in front of your sheet of paper, and you're like, And I remember in 2011, summer 2011, with my wife, we made the tour of Iceland, and I was there with my book, and I was taking notes, and I was writing stories instead of enjoying Iceland. I was just in my mind writing stories and trying to push for the thing. 2012 was really this thing, okay, we cannot make a business out of it. Plus, I remember, so there's a French magazine that made the reviews of what I did, and they have been brutally honest. It's just what I did was not really good. It was like good for an amateur. And I had to read that and swallow it and just take this truck in my face to have this wake-up call. But that 2012 was really like, it was a double burnout as an entrepreneur, because I bankrupted my businesses. So the comic book and the email, everything went to shit. And burnout as an artist, because I had to accept that I'm not going to become a world-class artist, or maybe not yet, maybe one day, but I don't think so. I don't even project on this anymore. So that was 2012 was really hardcore. And
what changed the trend? What happened?
First of all, we decided to have the totem animal, the phoenix, for a reason, because I think it just incarnates very much our idea of entrepreneurship and our idea of revival. And it was not very intentional. I think we wanted it as a totem animal in the beginning. I mean, the full story is that our first company in Belgium, so the first entity, 2006, was not called Phoenix something. It was called Supernova Media. We wanted something powerful. We liked the name and all. And when we closed in Belgium and we reopened in Bulgaria, we were like, okay, the Supernova has exploded, so we have to be reborn. And if we are reborn, we will be a phoenix. So that was the first rebirth, 2008. But that was not bankruptcy, but that was very symbolic. And since then, I mean, through entrepreneurship and through the hardship, this idea of the phoenix is always there. So 2012 was a very interesting year. We created a new company. So we managed to rebound with my partners, because we looked at each other and we were like, okay, what do we do? Do we close everything, we go back to France or to wherever we want and start new lives, and we stop doing business together, or do we do something together and we stay? And we agreed, okay, we do something together and we stay. And at that time, I had been reconnecting with old friends, childhood friends, again friends. I remember at the time I reconnected with this friend again from my teenage years, Pedro Canali, a French guy. We were semi-professional Magic the Gathering cards players when we were teenagers. So we did between our 15 and 18 years, we were traveling France and traveling around France to do competition in Magic the Gathering. So I was extremely competitive. I've been champion of my region for whatever that means for a few years, doing the national championship of Magic the Gathering also in 2000. But at some point, 2001, I went to a business school to get a master's degree. And my friend Pedro, he said, okay, fuck it, I will be a salsa teacher and salsa teacher and a Magic the Gathering player. So he just stopped school. And when I graduated, and you have to pay for your master's degree for a business school, it's fucking expensive. My friend, he won one of the most prestigious international championship in the United States, and he got $30,000. And I was like, wow, okay. So for these years, this guy has been dancing and playing cards. I've been studying, and he's actually making money where I paid for my degree. Maybe he made a better deal. We stayed always in touch. When I was starting entrepreneurship, he started his career as a poker player.
Switched from Magic the Gathering to poker.
Yeah, Magic the Gathering there's not a lot of money to make a real living. You can, but it's just not going to be profitable. A lot of poker players are ex-Magic the Gathering players.
Or StarCraft players.
Yeah.
Because I had a lot of friends that were playing StarCraft and they switched to...
Yeah, you're one of the famous poker players, the French guy, Bertrand Gropelier, Elki, has been a champion in StarCraft back in 2003 or 4. So
there are principles that are easily to be applied from games to poker. Which is great. So I want to go back just to get a better understanding. So your parents are basically creative people, like art, involved into art. And you were telling me about your master degree. What did you have as a bachelor degree and why?
Marketing and management.
Okay.
Something very...
Not because for a particular person, you just like... I did the same thing. I went into economics because what am I going to study? I don't know, economics. So was it something similar?
It was not very clear. No, the good thing of having creative parents is that I had the freedom to be whatever I wanted. But they were not very clear into guiding me, and no one was there to guide me on what I could do, not do. I had conflicting advices from teachers and from different people. No one could really tell me what I could do and could achieve. What I knew is that I wanted freedom. I had this idea of being an entrepreneur from early years. And at the time, everybody was laughing at me. Because when you're 18 years old and you say, I want to be an entrepreneur, and all people are like, of course, you an entrepreneur. So, whatever. And I was very naive when I was 18, 20. So I wanted to work in an advertising agency. I wanted to work to make the cool advertising and the cool stuff. And so I was really, I thought, okay, making a business school and doing marketing is going to take me there. And maybe I can work for Publicis or Euro RCG or this kind of like Havas and all.
Ogilvy and all these top names.
And actually, I made my internship. I did 1 year internship in Paris. So I did 1 year in Bosch. Not the most creative, but it was cool. Really nice. I learned a lot there. 2004. And meanwhile, all my friends from school, they were also having internships in Paris, because this is where you have the good jobs. And several of them were working in advertising agencies. So I was invited to the parties, and I went to their offices, and I saw how it was. And it made me want to throw up. It was really a disgusting environment, really not for me. Super hypocritical, super political, and a lot of people are burning out in these environments. In
Stress
France.
is very high.
Stress is very high, and they are with this hypocrisy that, man, you come whenever you want, you leave whenever you want. If you want to arrive after 10 or 11, it's okay, as long as you stay after midnight. And they are always in this bullshit, like fake freedom, you do whatever you want, but if actually you don't comply with actually what you have to do, that is working 15 hours per day, actually you
don't belong there.
You just don't belong there. Yeah. And you will just not have a promotion, and it's really everything you can imagine about politics, about having parents that know someone, about sleeping with the right people, and about, on top of that, working like crazy, and just the ones that don't burn out are the ones that get promoted. But on the path, you have so many people that just are destroyed.
Yeah, we have a conversation. I think it's episode 203 with Mikhail Stefanov, Mich Stefanov from Mini Machini. He used to have the similar job in Bulgaria. So what you're saying is basically, I imagine, what's the life in everywhere, not only in France. And he said the same thing. I saw my boss. He was 45 and having a heart attack. And I asked myself, do I want to look like this and have this at 45, really? So it's hopefully people start asking themselves questions where they want to be, and having in mind the previous conversation about your friend that did Magic the Gathering and won money and danced all day, and then you burning out. And
yeah, these are key questions. Yeah. It's about what do you want to achieve and how do you want to achieve it.
Yeah. And why, really? Why are you aiming there? Do you think it's cool, or do you really want to do it and this is your passion?
Yeah.
So what was your master's degree, and why did you decide that you need a master's degree anyway?
Wow. France is the education system and the general system is very much about degrees. So if you don't have a master degree in France, life is hard. Honestly. If I would drop everything and go back to France and be an employee now, employers would look very much at my degree, maybe more in a lot of cases than they would look at my experience.
Wow.
And they will be like, okay, you come from this school, so I put you in this grid, this tab and all, so this is your salary. And I will be like, yeah, but I did all of that in the past. Yeah, but okay, you come from this school and you have this degree.
Oh boy. What did you choose for masters?
Marketing and management.
So you continued with this?
Yeah.
Okay, so we can imagine that you're the business guy and Alex Laurent and you.
Yeah, Alex also is. Alex is in between.
Okay. How did you end up in Bulgaria?
I was lucky.
Okay, people will say that Bulgaria is like unlucky, the unluckiest place in Europe, but you said that you were lucky.
Well, obviously, I came in Bulgaria. I had nothing or nearly nothing, and now I have a business and a family. So I've been lucky.
Yeah. How did you decide to come here and base the business here?
Yeah.
Because it is something that right now, we are constantly as a society looking for a better future. And there are people like you, who can I say, like Olivier, for example. Was it Olivier or Xavier? Sorry, Xavier that came here to build business. They're French people, not only, of course, came here to build businesses here because they like the people here, like the environment, like they see the opportunities. So what was your like point of view at that time coming to Bulgaria, and who actually proposed this preposterous idea to come to Eastern Europe and build business here?
I love this question. I will not pretend that there was like a big plan and or anything. It really started with a lot of coincidences and a lot of factors. First of all, with my two partners, Alex and Laurent, we are French, but we were in Belgium at the time. We were in Brussels. As much as I love Belgians, Belgium was really hard because it's just extremely gray and humid, and you don't have a lot of luminosity. Already in this time of the year, the daylight starts at 10 a.m. and the day finishes at 4. So it's particularly gloomy and creepy. And yeah, okay, you compensate with a lot of good cheese and good beers and good friends, but okay, no, I need sun. And especially as an entrepreneur, when we started our business, as an entrepreneur, you need a lot of energy. You need a lot of energy because you're going to have a lot of setbacks. You're going to have a lot of failures. Things won't go your way. And you need to, when you open your eyes, to have a motivation to be like, okay, today I'm going to face again failures, problems, and I need to go there with a smile, and I will not give up. And I mean, if you just wake up and it's 10 a.m. and after dark it's gray and raining, it's just one more element that will just take some energy out of you. Maybe if you're born there, maybe it's different, but no, that I wanted something different. And back in 2007, 2008, with my friends, we were like, okay, it's true that we are not Belgians. We don't have families. We have very good friends there, but our clients are not there. Our business opportunities are not there. Why don't we just relocate somewhere sunny? Somewhere where maybe it will be cheaper, where the taxes will be better. Let's just explore. And we were exploring like maybe Malta, maybe the Canary Islands, maybe Madeira, maybe different stuff. And well, we have a very good friend here, Edouard, who is also an entrepreneur. We had a video game company at the time that was called Mondo Games. It's not existing anymore, but at the time it was big. And he just kicked me in the nuts and told me, man, why are you wasting your life in Belgium? I mean, you're not from there. There's a lot of taxes. It's rainy, it's cold, girls are ugly. I mean, come to Bulgaria. In Bulgaria, women are beautiful, taxes are low, people are nice, there's a lot of sun. I mean, the trade is obvious.
Yeah.
And that was a good sell. He had a good sales pitch. So at the time, we were just 3 with my partner. So we moved here in June 2008, just 10 days to try it. And we loved it. We had a B&B in the center of Sofia. And we were just out of a very terrible 6 months of rain and darkness. You know,
Yeah.
Belgium was really that. Maybe one day of sun in 6 months. And we arrived in Sofia, and it was like in the morning it was raining, and in the afternoon there was sun, and then it was raining a bit, and then there was sun. And we're like, wow, it's like alternating. It's not just rain, perfect. And we loved it. So 3 months after, we just moved everything there, and we arrived.
Awesome.
So that's the story, but there's more to that. So when we met with my friend Alex when we were 16, we were really the nerds that in the classroom are in the first row. And that I listen to all that the teachers are saying because they are interested. So we were genuinely interested, especially in history and geography. And that's one of the things that connected us. And, people in the classroom were just making chaos. And we were like, okay, can we just listen?
Yeah, it's interesting for us.
Yes. and we, in the 90s in France, the media, they were talking a lot about the Yugoslavian war. And this was a topic that was very important to us. So we had a lot of interest in this. And we got to know the Balkans through that, and got some interest. There was like I was very curious about the Balkans. There was also a lot of media around Emir Kusturica's movies. So 95, I think it was underground when he got the Palme d'Or. And all his movies, in the public channel Arte, Emir Kusturica and the friends, they were a lot advertised there. And we got to know a lot about the Balkans through this, and it seemed like super exciting, and we were curious. So the first time I got to travel to Bulgaria in 2005 for the company that I was working for at the time, because they had an office here. Maybe they still have, actually. And when they told me, okay, do you want to visit the office in Bulgaria? I was like, yes. And to me, it always meant like something very exciting. So that's it. There's a lot of connections. There's even in our family, we are not really sure where the name actually comes from. Bacchi is not so common, and it might sound like something Balkanic that has been Italianized. So it's very much possible that 500 or 600 years ago, actually, our families, they came from some mountains over here.
Yeah, awesome. But it sounds like an adventure, like coming to the Balkans, not knowing how, like, what it actually happens there, but getting inspiration through the movies, and especially like the art of Kusturica.
Yeah, it's an adventure, but at the same time, I mean, 2008, Sofia was already starting to develop. It was just after the entrance in the EU.
Yeah.
And let's be honest, in 2021, Sofia is super developed. It's not an adventure anymore at all. We had a friend last week that came from France. She's part of the French Tech Bordeaux. We met a few months ago in Paris at a French Tech event in the Ministry of Economy.
Yeah.
And I was talking about Bulgaria, and all. She was like, oh, this is super exciting. I want to come. Can I come? I was like, yeah, sure, come. I mean, there's a lot of people. You meet them. They're like, oh, yeah, I'm so interested, and never come. And she came.
Yeah.
She came last week. And she was super impressed. She said, oh, but it's very nice and all. It's when Bulgaria is still building its brand image, I guess. There are positive things. I think that there's a lot of people that are visiting now, that there's generations of Erasmus, generations of expats, generations of tourists that come on weekend and say, but actually it's very nice. I was imagining something not cool. And actually it's very cool. It's very, very cool. And the brand image needs to be built. But people are always super surprised by how cool it is.
One of the things that you just mentioned, and I want to go in through it, is the French tech community. How many, like, just name a number of French people are based here, based their businesses here. Like, how many people are there in the French community? Like, in approximation would be okay.
I think it depends on what you will consider as French tech. Because there are people that are building here their teams.
Yeah, this works as well. I mean, people that are contributing to the Bulgarian economy one way or another. Either the companies here or the people that work for the companies are here.
I would say that entrepreneurs that have teams here, I'm thinking about Pierre Vallée, that has created Proxy Ad here, sold it, and now he has Pontica.
Yeah.
So like great
My fiance
success.
works for Proxy.
Okay. So Pierre, you arrived in 2005 with nothing, created the company with one person and sold it. It was 200 people here or 300. Now he has Pontica. I think it's one of the fastest growing tech company and services company.
They just
here.
opened an office in Poland, which is amazing for a Bulgarian company. And they have offices in Varna and so I think it's in Plovdiv.
And Veliko Tarnovo, I think.
They're looking into it.
Yeah. So I think this is really one of the successes, even if he's not branding himself necessarily as French Tech, but he's associated. He's a good friend.
Yeah.
Awesome. A guy like Loïc Lepichou that has created a Clear Lending, so a peer-to-peer lending company. Very interesting. Now there's advertising on TV. Very nice success, and there's plenty of people gravitating. I mean, of course, there's Wilfried Durand, the friend with whom I created the French Tech. We created that in 2016 here, and he's a veteran entrepreneur. He sold this company, Mailjet, that was operated here in.
Really, Mailjet was Bulgarian.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
No, it was not Bulgaria.
Yeah, but I use Mailjet. I use Mailjet for the patrons of the podcast that support us through Stripe. They get their emails through Mailjet, which is amazing.
So actually, there was a portion of the development and customer support and operations of Mailjet. They were operated by Proxial here in Sofia. So this is what led him to spend some time here, find love, stay. Then he went out of Mailjet. Now he's creating a new company called Enve that are really SaaS services for B2B. He's creating his own incubator here. He's staying. It's super interesting what he's doing.
Why did you build a French Tech? Why did you guys, you and Wilfred, decided to build a French Tech here?
Many reasons. But I think it was just a flow.
Yeah.
It was just a flow. I started in 2011 with two friends creating this community via Facebook that was called, this is a French-speaking community. It's called Mardi Soir on parle français. And it really started in 2011 with the friends like, okay, there's no French-speaking event apart from the Chamber of Commerce and the embassy events that are serving their purpose. They are cool, they're nice and all, but there's no casual just meet up to speak French and just meet with the friends and not just the French, but the French speakers. So we created it, and in the beginning it was like 10 people, and mainly people from embassies and French Institute. And before COVID, we were close to 200 people for each event.
Wow.
And it was always different people. Like sometimes, so it's an event that we have been. So if it was not for COVID, we had organized the event without fail every first Tuesday of every month, nonstop. Even when there was rain, snow, holidays, whatever, we always managed to organize it first Tuesday of every month. And the community was growing. And some people were telling me, but why don't you make money out of it? Why don't you find sponsors, this and that? And I said, well, fuck it. I'm absolutely not interested. I want this to remain a hobby, and I don't want us to have any influence from anything. We tried a few sponsorship, but it was just exhausting. And so I wanted to keep it as something for the community. And it's really a community that's super interesting because it's really not only French. Less than half of the people are French. The other are French speakers, a lot of Bulgarian French speakers, but you also have Spanish, Italians, and different people that join and just want to speak French, practice their French, meet people, have a good time. And this is how I met Wilfried actually, back in 2015. And everything just connected at some point. We had this conversation with Business France here. At the time, it was Igor that just approached me with this label and this project of the French Tech. And this is how we connected also with Wilfried. Do we want to do it? Do we want a label? That started really as an extension of what we were already doing with the Mardi Soir on parle français, like as a community act, to get the French speakers together. Then having another layer that is connecting the French business interests together was just okay. That's just making sense. Let me explain a bit about the French Tech label, because that's an interesting story. It started really a bit before 2010 as just a group of interest between French entrepreneurs abroad. A lot of them, they were either French entrepreneur in the United States or French entrepreneur in Southeastern Asia, China, Japan, Vietnam. And they were really in this idea, okay, let's connect between French abroad so we can have our own network, because it's either the Americans or the Chinese that are making the world of tomorrow in tech, and the French and Europeans, we are just nowhere. We are just nowhere. It was already like unicorns and big giants and Google and Amazon in 2010. It was already there. And they really started this as an initiative of networking between entrepreneurs and friends. 2012, the new president at the time, François Hollande, and his ministry, Fleur Pellerin, had this initiative of proposing to this group of entrepreneurs to actually make it like a governmental label with governmental power, influence, and they approach them and tell them, okay, it's very interesting what you're doing. Let's do it official. We will give you the label. We will create the brand. We will do it together. Of course, you're going to lose a lot of power on it, but we are going to do it. And that since between 2012 and 2016, that was really the emergence of the French Tech label. The French governmental agencies, they were not really clear on what was the mission and how to do it and what was important and all. So the mission of the French Tech really changed and became clear after 2017. That's the moment where Emmanuel Macron has been elected, and it changed the way the French Tech was organized in the French governmental body. Before, it was depending on the Business France institution, so really specialized in exporting and importing the business companies, the French business companies. And he took it out of Business France and he created an independent entity with really, really super smart people. Not that the Business France people are not smart, please, no. They are super nice, but they already had other stuff to do. And making it independent, autonomous, let's say, really gave a lot of freedom to the French tech people, and it created something fantastic. And all of a sudden, they came back with a lot more credibility than before in giving these labels. Like you could apply as a French tech community anywhere in the world to have the label and to be part of the network. So at that moment with Wilfried, we were like, okay, I think we were not sure about applying in 2016 because the program was not really clear, the plan was not really clear. What we wanted to do was not really clear either. And we both agreed with Wilfried that either we do it for real or we don't. We didn't want to apply with a bullshit plan and have nothing behind, because unfortunately some countries have done that. They did the bureaucratic part, and they got the label, but they are actually ghost French tech. So some of them I will not name, but they are not all as active as some others. So we wanted to have a plan, we wanted to have something. And this is how we got the label in 2019. At the time, our mentality was, okay, how can we continue to contribute to the ecosystem? Business was okay. And when business is okay, it's really the moment where we think, okay, it's time to contribute. It's time to just spread some positivity and to make things grow around us. And we really wanted to have Bulgaria be put on the map. That was as simple as that. Yeah. We want that Bulgaria becomes a dot on the map, and there's French Tech Sofia, and that people start to have some interest and know that we are here.
Yeah, it's basically a contribution for like all the French entrepreneurs, but also to Bulgaria for being exposed to other French entrepreneurs that want to come here and maybe build their companies and learn from you guys that are already on the field, which is amazing. And thank you for this thing, because everything in the podcast, every story in the podcast comes from a person that's paying forward, and this is something important to the person that's really here and speaking. That's why I'm asking about the questions, the lessons, the failures, and so on and so on, because I want the listeners to learn from you guys and imagine themselves doing it, or having a French friend that really wants to build a company here, and he can get in contact with you or anyone from the community. So thanks for mentioning it. One of the things that keep popping up in our conversation is this friendship / networking team, which is very important to me, because everything that I do and everything that happens in my life is around people. It's about the network of the people that I know, that I talk to, that they talk to other friends, and they connect me to other friends, and so on and so on. And we are here in the basically almost 300 episodes later, because I've met a person that knows another person that he introduced me to, and he introduced me to another person, and we are sharing all this knowledge and experience to everyone. But in Bulgaria, it's a common thing that people think that they can do everything on their own, by themselves. And here you are coming with another 2 people, talking about how you created a business with like 2 co-founders, like 3 people, and talking about networking and talking to other people and this importance of human contact and interaction. So why is this so important, and why is it underestimated? What do you think? Why do people not value the importance of other like team players and being part of a group and trying to do everything on their own?
I cannot really know, but if I have to make a guess on that, I would say that because on the past 30, 40, 50 years, society has really pushed for individualism. It has really pushed for isolating the people and individual success, and we are not a group anymore. And I think that everything is built on that, to isolate the people. And if you're isolated, you don't really want to rely on others and to collaborate. I will say that, but I cannot speak for the others. I can explain why we have made this choice. It's not even a choice. I think it was natural, but for us, it's just, I think it's one of our answers to the meaning of life. That I think the meaning of life is to have meaningful adventures with meaningful relationship, and do things that are exciting, that are connecting with your ethos. That you can do things that you're proud of, and part of the things that are meaningful to us is to actually do business with friends. So making business with friends is not a top priority.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you have to do business with people you don't really like as friends. It's a bit more complex sometimes if they are really opposed to you in terms of ethics, but your own values, if they are really like diametrically opposed, it's not gonna work. But in our experience, making business with friends, it's tricky. I mean, I had to fire several friends. I even had to fire my wife in 2019. There's a friend, I had to fire him twice. So it doesn't work always. It's tricky. When it works, when you can have like a high level of business relationship and high level of friendship, then you have something that is just unbreakable. You can go to the end of the earth with these people. But when it goes bad, it can really be destructive.
Can you share some lessons on how to find out if it's working or not? What are good practices? Like you said, the conversation that you mentioned earlier, like we sat together, we decided, are we staying and doing something together, or without any hard feelings, we just go our separate ways?
I think the secret, well, that is not a secret anymore because I will share it with everyone. The key is about making everything super clear from the beginning. In the beginning, so we actually arrived in Bulgaria. We were 4. There was our first employee that we had to fire after 6 months in Bulgaria.
Bulgarian?
No, a French guy, but we hired him in this idea that he was bored in his job in Paris. He was one of my closest friends, one of my most faithful friends at the time, and we hired him as in the idea that this guy is going to create something, that we're giving him an opportunity, a good salary. He will move to Bulgaria. That's going to be amazing. And just because we are friends and we are passionate, everything will be right. And that was a huge mistake. We didn't consider, first of all, that he will not like Bulgaria because he's very Parisian. So for him, he wanted to have his painting exhibitions every night and cinema movies and all the cultural stuff that you have in France, that you have a lot more now in 2021 in Sofia, but in 2008, that was really dry. You didn't have much. And he went on and on about how he hated it and how he was depressed and things were not right. Plus, there was this conflict on the fact that we were starting the business, that he was an employee, that he didn't have shares. I mean, with my partner, we were barely paying ourselves. We were paying his salary. We were doing a lot of stuff, but he just could not accept that we were friends, but he was not one of the owners. So there was really an ego and a position there. And the final thing was when we were working on a dating project at the time. And when one of our business partners contacted us saying, okay, I'm a bit embarrassed, but I need to tell you that I've been contacted by your employee and he actually wants to create a dating site that is a competitor to your dating site. So I was like, okay, thank you for telling me. So we had to confront the guy and he was like, oh, but it's on my free time. After work, I have the right to do my stuff. I don't see the problem. And one day I will also have my dating site and we will be partners. And there was all this thing about ego, not understanding. I mean, we were flatmates, the 4 of us. So you're like, okay, man, I'm giving you a job. I make you come to Bulgaria. From my perspective, it's just my perspective in the end. From my perspective, I was saving him from a horrible job in Paris and giving him an opportunity. And I welcome him in my universe and he lives in my place. And what does he do after work? He makes a competing project. So that was awful. That was the first friend that we made a mistake to hire and that we fired. It's really hard. But at the same time, I get his perspective that we were not very mature as entrepreneur. We didn't know how to position it. We didn't clarify to him. And you don't have the right to make a competing project with everything that we teach you and with our business contact after work in our apartment. But at the same time, in his perspective, it's okay. He also has the right to do personal projects as an end to work time and whatever. It's like I learned that what is obvious to me might not be obvious to someone else. And for the business relationship and what's okay and what's not okay with friends, this is exactly this, that in the beginning, you need to clarify everything. That first of all, the most important is to preserve the relationship. So we might get angry at each other business-wise in a few months. I might have to fire you. You might have to go. Everything can happen. And whatever happens, we need to preserve the relationship. So whatever happens, this is business. So if it's not working, we remain friends. This is key. And to tell the people, okay, you are not being hired because you're my friend. You're being hired because we get to know each other because we are friends, but because you have the skills. If you don't have the skills, the fact that you're my friend or that you're my wife or whatever, doesn't care. We don't want to enter into politics. And I always tell the people, you will even have to prove yourself even more than the others because we are friends. Because the people will always be suspicious that you entered here because you have a friendship with Adrien. And no, actually, that's not it. It facilitated the things, but if it's not working, it's not working. So let's make it work.
Awesome. Oh yeah, it's like if it's okay, like how does a man like fire his wife? This is because this is the most political decision, isn't it? It's like how to make it in a way that's like it's it's interesting for me. If it's okay for you to share, it will be great. So how
the reality is not as fun as make it sound. We had another company at the time, so we made this ranking hero platform, the gambling poker community. So it was a social platform for poker players. This is what we built in 2012 with this friend Pedro Canali, professional poker players, and Nicolas Levy, another professional poker players. We had French investors at the time, so that was really a different adventure. And we rose $1 million. So we hired like 17 people. We had offices in London, and we made this magic trick of transforming $1 million into zero in 3 years. Don't try it at home. It's not a good magic trick.
Yeah.
And the relationship with the investors were a bit tense in the end.
I wonder why.
So when we were asking for more money when we bankrupted the company in 2015, they were not so much into it. They still lend us money. We had to borrow a lot of money in the bankruptcy of 2015, 2016, because on one end we wanted to have the rebirth of ChibiPhoenix as a plan B in case plan A, Trixie, was not working. So we went out of gambling and poker because we realized that it was a bad business. That we could not raise more funds and that the startup was going nowhere. So we actually proposed our investors to rebrand Ranking Hero into Trixie, a B2B gamification company specialized in serious gaming. And this is the project that we sold to the 1 Point company, so big French consultancy group, 3,500 people, huge offices in Paris, like very inspiring offices.
Fancy.
Extremely fancy, like rooftop terrace with Eiffel Tower view in the pure center, Trocadero. Yeah, you sign good contracts when you show that to the clients. So that was an experience. So we negotiated for 6 months, a bit more, 9 months, to integrate the group, and we sold 51% of Trixie to that group, to 1 Point. And we started making serious games and consulting and gamification. And at the same time, ChibiPhoenix, we launched our first game the 26th of July 2016. And 2 weeks after, we were signing for selling Trixie. So we had 2 companies at the same time. After six years of failure, misery, burnout, mistakes, politics,
lost
and
money.
anger, lost money.
Burnt money is the correct term.
So let's say after 6 years of a lot of experience and not a lot of money, we actually were just too successful in 2 weeks. And at the time we were like, okay, after all the shit that we had to swallow, having 2 companies that are going to be successful, it's okay. It's okay. So we went on with it. I thought, okay, because through the bankruptcies there was always this obsession that we wanted to save our assets, but that we wanted also to protect the company and protect the team. So we already had friends that came from France to settle in Bulgaria for the business. We had really a small community of people. I mean, we were 3, so actually 4, but okay, let's say 3. Then with Amilova, we were a bit more than 10. Then in 2012, we were 4, because my wife started working with us on the Amilova project. She wasn't my wife at the time, but she started working with us and she stayed in the team. So we were 4. Then with Ranking Hero, we were 17. Then we were back to being 5 or 6 after this, and split on the 2 projects when it was just MVPs and all, borrowing money. We had 140,000 euros of debt in summer 2016. My son was 2 years old, summer 2016. So that makes you a bit responsible when you borrow money and you need to really make business happen. And everything worked. So after all this shit, I was like, okay, I need to reinvent myself, and I will be brave. I will be brave for the teams. I will be brave for everything. We will take whatever we have to take. Business-wise, it was not good to take the Trixier business, because at the time I just had 5% of the business after selling 51% to the Wine Point Group. And Phoenix, we shared the company equally with my 2 friends. So, and it was already working with a lot of traction, while Trixier, everything had to be done. So business-wise, it was not a smart decision. It was the painful decision, but that was the decision of honor, which is extremely important, and responsibility, and also the path of knowledge and experience, because I learned so much with Trixier. It was very painful, because I had to travel to Paris once a month, because there was a lot of political conflicts, because the fact that I had another successful company on the side was not accepted at all by my partners, and even less by the One Point Group. They didn't ask if we had another company when signing the contract. So, okay, at the time we were a bit desperate and out of long years of misery. So I was like, okay, let's take the business. You'll see, you'll be happy. But they were not happy that we didn't say everything. It's not like
it's a separate company, isn't it?
It's a separate company.
Totally different thing, different niche.
It was always there. They would have looked 2 seconds on my LinkedIn. It was there. It was public. Amilova, we had press releases, everything. They were even paying my first salaries on this company, on Phoenix. So it's not like I was hiding much.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, you could have said it. Well, you could have checked. 10 seconds, do your homework. Anyway, I understand also the overall feeling, but it was very educational. So going to Paris, meeting top consultants, super smart people that did the best business school in France, and these really high-level consultants with nice suits that use a lot of fancy words. In the beginning, you're like intimidated, like wow, so many words I don't understand. It's super interesting. So we learned a lot of stuff, and meanwhile we were growing ChibiPhoenix, and ChibiPhoenix was my energy and my peace, and Trixier was my drain, because it was very political, a lot of long meetings and things not going all right, and conflict. But that was, I learned also a lot. So my wife was working on Trixier.
Yeah,
I was working on both. And I was really in this idea that I can just pile up hours and hours and hours of work and make it work. So if I was like, okay, if I work 50 hours per business, leading 2 businesses, 100 hours per week, I can do it.
Yeah, you can sleep for 68 hours, which you would divide in 7. Mm-hmm. Quite insufficient for you, which is...
But actually, I can work 100 hours per week. I can still do it. What I underestimated is my capacity on working on 2 different things, because what I learned is that my cognitive capacities, if I go in one direction and if I work 100 hours, I can synergize, I can work. But 2 different companies with different teams with different problematics, that's just too much. I could not.
So focus.
Yeah.
So how did you decide, okay, let's cut this drain in business? And
well,
it was not easy, but what made you decide, take this very hard decision?
Well, It's a difficult story. 2018, we made serious games and we sold for $1 million of serious games to French companies. So we sold games like cybersecurity training to BNP, shop cash management training for Yves Rocher, security on site for factories for NG, so the equivalence of chess in HR training for engineers for Thales, a big technology group, and so on. So we sold a lot. We sold $1 million, but all in all, in 2018, we spent $1.7 million. So the group, one point, I think there are two choices at that time. They could be like, okay, guys, wow, okay, we invested 1.7, but you made 1 million out of nowhere. And we see that there's a huge growth and there's a huge potential, and serious game is really something that distraction and all. We want to believe in it. So we are going to continue the business plan together and we want to continue investing with you. We believe in you. That was one choice. And the other one was, what? When you invest 1.7 million, you need to make 5 million because this is a service company. This is how you do it. Or are you guys even not matching the resources that you have? This is not professional. So this is because the trust was low for plenty of reasons. My two partners, Pedro and Nicolas in Paris, they are awesome guys, really good friends and smart guys, and not so much into politics. And what probably one of the stories is that probably what was expected from them being in this
business.
No, what's the name of the main city in Game of Thrones?
Landing.
King's Landing.
King's Landing.
So the office in Paris was King's Landing.
Yeah.
And here we are really watching the wall, we are the Night's Watch.
Yeah.
So they were in King's Landing with all the pretty people doing the pretty politics and all. And
but the fighting happened somewhere else.
Yeah, first of all, the fighting was happening somewhere else, and then I think that they are Stark people. They are really like they are not into politics.
Yeah,
they are really honest, direct people, and what was expected from them is that they would be more Lannister, more into politics and all. I think this is one of the explanations. Yeah. So in the end, because they were not pretty puppies playing the game of politics and B2B corporate and all, they lost some favors. There was also the fact that the group didn't really appreciate the fact that we had this other company. There was all these things. Okay, we were not making money. I think that's maybe number one, because probably if we were very successful, everything would be forgiven. And but really the last thing was that we had a mentor that believed in us in 2012 when we did the beginning of Ranking Hero, our first investor, a famous business entrepreneur in France, Bruno Van Reeb. Like, he created one of the first French startups. He had 500 employees, a company called Avanquest that was on the stock market. Amazing guy. Music producer in the beginning of the 80s. That is the guy that imported the cold wave movement in France. So, super cool guy. And he died of a bike accident in January 2019, on the 19th. And that was a huge blow, because business-wise, we were continuing this business tricks here out of honor, not out of necessity, because Phoenix was working properly. But we really wanted to stick to the end to make it work, out of honor, also out of respect for the investors that made 1 million and that we burned, that still had shares in the business. So we wanted to continue until the end as much as possible for them. to have a chance to have some kind of return somehow. And so he died, and 2 weeks after the funerals, we started having political issues with the group that I prefer not to enter in details.
No, of course.
But that was really. I mean, that's they will say business is business, and that's true. Business is business, and this is how they took it. So we were at a bad moment, and with my partners, we're like, okay, can we try to buy the business, because we believe in it. We believe in serious games. We believe in this business. Okay, there's debts. Okay, but we believe it's gonna work. Or can we sell our shares? And in the end, we sold our shares because they were, one point being a majority stakeholder with 51%. They had all power of decision in this negotiation. So we decided, okay, you take the business, you take the code, you take whoever you want in the team. We transferred this very cleanly. And this is how we transferred Trixia to 1 Point Bordeaux. And now it's still alive in the 1 Point group, and they are still serving clients like BNP. And actually, Phoenix has been working with 1 Point. We have been providing illustrations and storytelling last year because BNP was asking for the original art style that we provided. So they were like, okay, do you still have the artist that did this? Yes. Okay, please, let's work together. And we did something.
Awesome. Yeah, it's always these like hard decisions, and they take time, and you are anchored into some situations because of, like, here it is, the friendship, the person that believed in you, that helped you, that mentored you, and probably this was something that kept you there, which is something that we all do, even in our family matters. Respects and that we pay to.
But to this long story, to go back to the to what started the long story, my wife was working for Trixia. So when we closed the offices here in Sofia, I had to fire her. Like I fired everyone else. A lot of the people from Trixia actually joined Phoenix. But with my wife, we agreed that it was really too conflictual to work together, and that I personally could not continue to have board meetings at 11 p.m. in bed, or to be criticized on all my management style and all by my wife. I was like, okay, no. If we continue working together, we will probably divorce. So let's not work together. Okay. We are creating a new project together, and we are still working together on something else. We are creating an event space. So nothing to do, but I guess it will still be different. So that's how I fired my wife.
So at the end, before we continue with our amazing conversation, I would like to forward the questions from our partners from SMS Bump to you and their colleagues. I will start with a question that really hits me straight into the heart. What's your favorite computer game? And what about your wife's preferences, if she plays any?
Favorite is always difficult because it means that there's just one, and there's I cannot say favorite, so I will answer in different ways. There's a few games that have been influencing me up to today, like old classics that I was playing when I was a teenager. I would say Final Fantasy VII is completely mythical on the storytelling, on the way it's played, on the immersion, on what it meant at the time, because it was the beginning of PlayStation 1. It was the beginning of 3D RPGs. Like, well, okay, I'm getting old. I'm 40, but that was something really majestic. A lot of RPG games like Baldur's Gate also at the time. So we are also talking about 96 or 98. But that was important. That really influenced me a lot. Game Boy. I mean, the console games that themselves, Game Boy, Doom, one of the first FPS, and the old games. But recently, I would say that I'm playing mostly mobile games. Actually, I'm playing only mobile games because of this thing that I have to play a lot of games. If I don't play a lot of games, I'm just disconnected from the gameplay reality and the game conception reality. And as my position, I mean, making video games, I think it's still important that I know what I'm talking about. And I can really talk with the communities and the players at the highest level of the conversation, because I am from this universe. I've been, so as I mentioned, I started being competitive with Magic the Gathering when I was a teenager. I continued with navigating with the high level players with the poker thing. So I've met the highest and the most famous poker players of all time. Well, not all of them, but I mean, so I've really met and spent time with people that were extremely smart, and we'll discuss about game theory nonstop. And I learned a lot. I learned about competition. So these days, I'm a big player in Clash Royale.
Okay. Does your wife play?
She used to play Clash of Clans a lot, but she's a bit like me, addictive personality. So if she starts playing something, it can go to sleepless night and too much time spent doing shit. And she doesn't have my excuse that it can be useful for our work.
Yeah. Tosha, thank you for your question. Basically, I describe video games for myself as drugs. For me, it's like I really love playing computer games. Huge addict. So I really try to limit the time that I play. But when I start, it feels like I cannot get away from it. It just I like it so much that I want to go again and again and play another map and another map. And now I'm just re-download Dota 2 just to have a couple of maps. And I dominated some games and like, okay, I cannot like stop playing in an instant. But yeah, awesome. Another great question that I think here from David is, what is the best time to introduce children to online games? And which games would you suggest?
Children.
Yeah, children. You as a parent probably have thought about this.
Yeah, that's a very difficult topic. It's very conflictual. Because somehow I know that games can be addictive, myself being an addict, and which drove me to create this business all in all. So it's part of the mix, but I know the dangers of online games and games in general. So I'm like this kind of hypocrite that is spending a lot of time on his phone and tells his kid, don't touch the phone, it's bad for you.
Yeah, but most of the parents are doing the same thing. And don't smoke, it's bad for you. Same thing, isn't it?
Yes, with the difference that when you're a kid, you are in a very heavy learning curve and you need to learn a lot. You need to learn.
Yes.
You have to learn. You need to create the brain connections. And as adults, we don't need to learn. We can learn, but we don't need to learn. So we have learned. So it's more or less a bit more okay to relax a bit more. We don't have the same lives. But a kid like my son is 7. He needs to learn a lot. So do I want him to play video games? Depends. Some of them. But then you have also this conversation about is the game going to teach something? Is the game violent? Is the game la la la? Is Minecraft good for creating the brains of kids? Yes or no? Are strategy games good? Are RPG games bad? Etc. etc. And it's a huge debate. And I'm really not a good example because when growing up in France, it was at the time on TV we lived this golden age back in 1986, I think. It was really the first big wave of Japanese animation on the French TV. And somehow, because it's animation, it was cartoons, the governmental body that is checking if the things are age appropriate and all, they didn't check whatever was on TV at the time. And I was 5 and I was watching Hokuto no Ken, so Fist of the North Star, which is very gory with head exploding and hearts being just shattered. And I loved it, but I was 5. And people of my generation, we all grew up with Hokuto no Ken until the parents started noticing that there was a lot of blood on the screen. and that a few other animes, they were just not exactly age appropriate. So I'm really torn between, well, whatever. My son is 7; he can see some violence. It's not going to hurt him. And at the same time, I'm like, yeah, well, look what it did to me. So maybe not. I don't know.
Yeah. The next question comes from Maria. It's exactly on this topic. Where do you stand on the games lead to violence topic? You basically started it, so.
Yeah. I'm conflicted on this. Our personal stand as a gaming company is that we don't want to make violent games. So we want to make games that are positive, that give a good impression, that are respecting some good values, that are optimistic. I mean, we really started our games coming from this idea that the world is gray, violent, aggressive, frustrating, that people are unhappy, and that our mission is to provide 5 minutes of free happiness to a lot of people. It's really this. I was coming from these dark burnout years and bankruptcy, and I just wanted to make a game that had for ambition to provide positive entertainment. And I wanted it to be positive. I was clear on the fact that we don't want to do something that is playing on the dark aspects of personality and violence. We don't want to do another GTA. We don't want to make a game with assassins. We don't want to do that. It's okay. We want to do something that is just rosy, colorful, positive. You move forward, and that's it. That's what we wanted, and I think it needs to still be our mission. The games that we want to do next year will be there will be some fighting. So it's a bit in conflict with this idea of no battle, but we can just make like Pokemon. They have battles, but you don't kill your adversary. You just knock them out. I think that the Nintendo games, they are really in these vibes of positive and cool stuff, and this is what we want to provide as gaming. Now, as a gamer, I also need to say that, yeah, I love GTA, I love FPS, I love the headshotting my opponents in any FPS.
Who doesn't?
Yeah, and I'm really a huge supporter of freedom of speech in all the forms, and I think that art forms that are about extreme violence, extreme sex, extreme political point of views, whatever they are, I think they are really necessary to society, because people need to express this and to have this catharsis, to have this crystal. And I think this is making society evolve, like various forms of art. And the moment you will start to muzzle artists and tell them, oh no, this is not okay, you cannot have this because it's too violent or too sexy or this, you're losing a very big part of humanity. So I still believe that video games have to be an hybrid form of art, and that they need to be a vessel of expression. I actually believe that I want to contribute to having video games officially being recognized as the 10th form of art. It's not an easy ride, but 100 years ago, when cinema got invented and started being famous, when they started saying we are the 7th art, people were like, well, no, art, it's about painting, sculpture, writing, music, scenic arts. But maybe I'm forgetting one. Yes, architecture and sculpture. These are the classic antique form of arts, and cinema, it's not an art. Then now it's obvious that cinema is an art. The 8th art is media, blogging, magazines, TV, And the ninth, so you don't have an official body that is saying you're the eighth and the ninth, but it's like commonly accepted. Ninth is comic books and every visual art, so comic books, manga. And the 10th, video game, is really still a conversation. But I believe that one of the things that I want to contribute to in my life is that I wanted to be recognized as the 10th form of art. That's actually an hybrid of visual arts, storytelling, music, emotions, interaction. It can be so rich and so deep. And I believe that we are just scratching the surface of whatever you can express through video games. So that it's really, really, especially mobile games, most of them are extremely shallow. And you don't have stories, and it's really to the point. I want you to spend your money. And I think in the next 10 years, you're going to see a huge boom in hyper-qualitative mobile games.
In my personal view, games should be an art because they create worlds. You basically have this personality that you are not in your real life, but you can be in this game. The problem is when people overlive it and they just go to extremes, like spending 36 hours in World of Warcraft and dying out of like lack of sleep and so on and so on. But you can go there and be this really reliable person that helps others and tank for them or heal for them, or is this good shooter or bomb protector or whatever. So next question comes from Mitko, and it's, what does the future of mobile gaming looks like according to you? So you started with improvement of games that are basically cash first.
Yeah, I think we are just at the beginning of mobile games because there's several aspects to it. I think mobile game is the type of gaming that has the highest growth. It's like it's insane. Let me give some insight on this. If you go back to the history of video game. The first video game, archaeologists are dating the first video game to 1971. There are traces of this. I don't even know what game it was. In 1975, this is the moment the video game industry as a whole is going over $1 billion worldwide. That's 75. 10 years after, 85, so times of Commodore, Amstrad, Atari, and maybe the first Nintendo. I think the market was already something like $20 billion. So it was really starting to grow. End of the 90s, the market was something like $40-50 billion. So that was the time of Super Nintendo, Mega Drive, then PlayStation, then Nintendo 64, and all other consoles and you had the PC games also that were also growing very fast. So the market was like 50 billion. So we grow from 75, 1 billion, 50 billion kind of end of the 90s. End of the 2000, 2008, 2008, there was some noise because the video game industry became bigger than the movie industry. It was like $70-75 billion. And people were like, whoa, we didn't see it happening. Because at the time, video games were still something for nerds, for kids, for boys, for rich white boys, by the way, or middle-class white boys. And people just didn't see it coming. And it was still the time of the superstars. It was a kind of still a pre-internet phase. And people are like, okay, these video games that you don't care about, they are actually big. Okay. And 10 years forward, 2017, the video game industry goes for the first time over 100 billion. So like the movie industry is far behind now. 2017 is 100 billion. That's huge. And it's really because video games now, before you had to be middle-class rich white boy to have your parents buy you a PlayStation that was 700 euros and every game was 60 euro, or a PC that was very expensive in the 90s or in the 2000s. Now everybody has a smartphone. I mean, unless you're an hermit, the smartphones, they are super cheap. They are given to you by the telecom companies. You pay them in 24, 48 months, I don't know, 72. But everybody has a smartphone, really. And everybody has internet. And you have games for free. With your phone, with the Play Store, with Apple Store, whatever, you get a lot of games for free. So you can have a lot of entertainment. And now it's not just the rich white kids that are playing. Everybody's playing. Women are playing. People my generation I am playing. People that are 20, 30, they are playing. The kids are playing. When I will be 60, I will be playing. So you have a generation thing that now you really can scale games because everybody has a phone and everybody can play. Women are playing, men are playing, kids are playing. And in 2021, it's estimated that it's likely that the market will be between 200 and 230 billion. So we came from 1,075,000,000, 70 billion bigger than the movie industry 2008, 9, 10, 2017, 100 billion, and now it's 100% growth in 5 years. It's insane. And so there's been conversation, is the pandemic helping or not the gaming industry? So some people have been really profiting out of it. Nintendo has made huge profits. Epic Games, Fortnite and all, they just rose $1.7 billion this summer on a value of $18 billion. I don't know what they're going to do with it. Maybe a city or a spaceship. but they rose a fortune. And so the desktop and console gaming is pretty stable with a growth of 5-10% per year. So it's steady for the past 10 years. Maybe even the mobile desktop games are a bit going down. But mobile gaming has been having a growth of 15-20% per year. And it's estimated that as a whole, the pandemic helped for a growth of 40% instead of 15-20%, 40-45% for the industry. So in any case, it was an industry that was growing, but we can safely say that the industry grew in 2021, 2022, where it could have been in 24 or 25. So there's a 2 years advance, a fast forward. So it means that the mobile gaming has a lot of growth, a lot of adoption, a lot of players, because even in the post-pandemic world, people will continue with their habits and they will continue playing. So you have a lot more players. The companies doing mobile gaming, there's a lot that are making a lot of profit, so they will invest. And then you have the technology factor. And it's very important because if you look at your phone, I have a Samsung 21. The screen is bigger, the processor is faster. I'm not with 3G, 4G, I'm with 5G. So there are games that would have been unplayable 1 or 2 years ago that now, just because of the technology factor and the internet factor, are becoming playable. And in the near future, you can imagine that Samsung 37 or 58 will be easily lighter, faster, more powerful. You will have 6G and whatever. The technology that you will have in your phone is going to be really impressive. And I think this is where you're going to see the biggest technological gameplay growth. Because desktop and console gaming, I mean, it's just already placed. The games on PlayStation 5, they are already so good that I can barely imagine a progression. And at the same time, they are so good. But when I compare it to the games I was playing on PlayStation 2, I think that the technology gap is, I mean, it's impressive and not that impressive at the same time. Like more impressive 3D, better texture, more this and that. It's still on the same range.
Yeah.
While I think that mobile gaming, there can be really a transformation.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, there are funny videos on YouTube comparing games from 1980s to the real live version, and there's a joke because I'm a huge fan of Formula One, and there was a meme on the internet about the newest Formula One F 2021, and someone said, "Hey, this is so much pixelated," and then compared to like something that we had like 30 years ago when I was a kid playing Accolade's Formula One games, and they were like basically squares on the screen. It was like it's ridiculous. So
Yeah.
it's a huge jump. So the last question here will be from Savi. What do you think of Facebook's Meta, and do you think it will be successful? Where are augmented and visual reality right now? Virtual reality right now? Like there are basically three questions you can.
Mm-hmm. Well, Facebook Meta is a very annoying topic because for anyone interested in video games or into video games or making video games, you're like, duh, okay, the metaverse. We've entered the metaverse from the moment you had internet, and it's like the new Facebook Meta looks like some whatever that's close to Second Life or whatever we had already 25 years ago. The first meta game, you already had the experiences of metaverses. What was it? 1998, there was a French experiment called L'autre monde, the other world, or something like that. It was just an experiment, but that was already recreating streets of Paris. And I think, I'm not sure, but I think it was financed by a French TV that wanted to experiment on it and all. So okay, Facebook is doing it. I'm like, okay, why is everyone surprised actually? I mean, they bought Oculus 5 years ago, so everything is just converging to this. So, and there's I think the most obvious thing about Facebook Meta is that there are so many scandals that are arising around Facebook being aware of how toxic they are to humanity and to the human brain and to people, that it's just obvious that they're like, oh, we need to change our name somehow. We need to divert attention somewhere else. So anyway, I think it's interesting. So I need just to put some distance, because I am already. I would say it's obvious that I'm part of the metaverse because we are making games, we are on social media, where it's already there. So I'm not impressed. I think it's just logical. But if I position myself as most of the people, I understand why they are so impressed, because I mean, it's Facebook that is invested fortunes in having a lot of PR and everybody talking about it. So there's like people talking about it. I'm like, yeah, well, whatever, of course. But for them, it's new because it's not their thing. So I think it's going to be interesting. Already, I think it was 2 years ago, Facebook made a move forcing the users of Oculus to create a Facebook account to log in, or they could not use their Oculus. So it was a mini scandal in the community, but whatever, they pushed for it. And I don't know, I think it was just obvious that it's been their plan from the beginning to connect Oculus with Facebook. I think it's going to be interesting. About virtual reality and augmented reality. I personally don't like virtual reality, especially for video games. I think it's too much. I mean, I tried several games. It was very impressive, but I don't want to immerse myself in a world where I will be so disconnected and to be so much into another world. I want to remain connected. So I like the very casual experience to be sitting on my sofa or to be sitting on the toilet and to play a game 3 minutes and a half or 5 minutes or 1 hour if I feel like, because the moment is there. But I like this, and I like to be connected to everything around me. I also played Resident Evil 7 virtual reality, and that was fucking scary. That was really, really, really too intense. And after 1 hour playing, I was like, okay, that's great, that's fantastic, but why would I impose myself such a brutal and scary experience that is just too much? Maybe I don't want that. So I still think that virtual reality, maybe in 10 years, is going to be something really interesting and amazing. But right now, in my opinion, it's a very hardcore experience. Augmented reality, I believe, is going to be. It's already mind blowing. It's more and more there. You will have it more and more connected, and in ways, augmented reality, you will have it in ways that will be subtle, and you will not necessarily always realize that it's augmented reality. But in my opinion, it's very wide. Um, I think it starts. I was checking this. I'm looking for motivation to go and swim. I don't like swimming. I know it's good. I want to prepare for triathlon, and it's part of it. And but I don't like it. And I have headsets that are waterproof, so I can swim and listen to music, but it's still boring. And I just found goggles that are projecting on the goggle what is the distance that you're swimming and what's your time. So you have the goggles and it's projecting something very simple on the goggle. But that's already part of what you can imagine as what can be augmented reality, because it's connected with Bluetooth, it's connected to your device, it's recording your performance, sharing it on a social network for swimmers, la la la. And I believe that this is really how augmented reality will be more and more in our lives.
Like it's in the cars at the moment,
Mhm.
like projecting the screen, the lane, etc. Super. Thank you very much for these answers. Thank you, SMS Bump guys and colleagues, for these amazing questions yet again. If you're interested in becoming a person that can ask my guests some questions, check out SMS Bump's open positions in their office in Bulgaria, but not only. They're part of Yotpo, which is a unicorn company that has recently raised more than 300 million. The office in Bulgaria is raising from 30 people last year to more than 100. And they're not only looking for technical specialists, they're looking for all other people that are interested in building an amazing e-commerce solution that helps businesses like IKEA, Patagonia, WWE to sell, to have better SMS marketing and sell more to their customers. So, thank you, SMS Bomb, for supporting the podcast. Of course, I would need to go into books. It popped into our previous conversation before the real episode. Would you mind sharing your recommendations about books? You can choose any topic. It might be business books, not only books that really had an impression or changed your life in a way.
Mm-hmm. Books are really interesting because so I really come from this culture of visual art, visual novel, comics, manga, and actually I started reading books 5 years ago. Before that, I was reading like one book every 3 years because I receive it as a gift or I'm motivated somehow. But I was really not a reader. I read some book in high school because you have to, but that was really not my stuff. I wanted it to be visual, and I think that the Kindle book made it a lot more practical to read books, carry books. Also, the audiobook recently. I think it really changed my perspective. Also, in 2016, when we were working really hard on reinventing ourselves, on regrowing ChibiPhoenix, on trying to integrate the 1 Point group with Trixie. I was also out of so my second burnout and some really physical damage that I did to myself in 2015 because I was maybe 10 kilos more than now. I was drinking too much. I was eating too much. I was extremely stressed. And I broke my back. Like I remember I was just angry that day. I was trying to put something in the trunk of the car, pulling, and you know, you have this you feel that you broke something in your back, and that some disc just you feel it, you feel that something is wrong, and then the pain goes on, and after that for weeks I could barely walk. And nobody really knew what I had. I didn't want to go to the hospital. I went to some chiropractor. I was receiving injections. It was it's awful. And at that moment, a friend advised me to either go for surgery or to try a very hardcore diet, like a vegan, gluten-free for some weeks, and to see if I can just clean my body and heal by myself. Because he was telling me that what I was injecting to myself in terms of food and all was so toxic that my body didn't have energy enough to heal itself. And I was like, okay, yeah, between hospital and just changing food, no problem. I'll go for food. And after a month, even 3 weeks, I was starting to see really great improvement already. I was like, okay, that's cool. And I was like, okay, I'm going to continue with the dieting. And early 2016, we were fucking broke. So we had debts, we were borrowing money, we were not making money, we just had hope. But I was starting to feel a lot better than the year before. We were making some money, but we had the plan we had for business was not clear. I didn't like it. There was no hope. There was just despair. And now I was broke, but I had a lot of hope and a lot of motivation. And I thought, okay, we have this plan A and plan B, ChibiPhoenix, Trixie. I believe that there's at least one that is going to work because they are good plans. And I thought if we get the second chance of rebuilding business after all the shit we've done, this time we will do it right. This time we will do it right. And that was also a moment of deep ownership of my mistakes, because I had spent several years just blaming everyone else for my mistakes, saying, okay, the business is bad, but it's because of the market, it's because of my partners, it's because of my colleagues, because of my employees, everyone's stupid, this and that, la, 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 la. And the moment I accepted that actually being the director of these businesses and leading them to bankruptcy, it was my fault, ultimately. Okay, I was not alone, but I was the leader of these businesses. So it was first and foremost my fault. And that I always had a choice. There's been moments where taking some choices were very hard. I'm specifically thinking about the second round of investment in our poker business, 2014. The first round of investment, the money disappeared super fast. So we didn't have time to find new investors with a better value. So we made another round with the original investors. So there was a lot of dilution. We lost a lot of shares. And I proposed them a business plan that they didn't like. They said, oh, it's too conservative. We can make a business that will just be, an SMB that will make 30, 40K a month. That's not interesting. We want to go big or go broke, which was not my mentality. My son was just born at that time. And I have another partner that proposed a business plan that I hated. And all the investors were like, oh, this is amazing. We love that. I was like, oh, no. But okay, I just went with the flow, saying, okay, in the end, it's not my money. I'm going to get another year of experience. If it's their decision, I proposed them another plan. They didn't like it. And I regretted it because, yes, with a newly born son and all, it was a very hard choice to say no to this plan. It was very hard, but I still had the choice. And taking the choice of taking this plan that I didn't believe in actually just poisoned my life in 2015, and I really hated it. So that 2015 was really hard because of this choice, but I still took the choice, and I still could have refused. So I took ownership of all of this, and I thought, okay, if we get this second chance, I have to level up myself as an entrepreneur, as a person, as a human being. And this is the moment where I thought, okay, I'm going to read a lot of books because I think I've learned what I had to learn from my mentors and all, and I need to get knowledge from somewhere else. So I need to find the source of the best books about management, entrepreneurship, about organizational management. I was like, okay, if we get a second chance to create a business, I want to create an ideal business. The businesses that we did before, they were very much bottom up with a lot of hierarchy and not a lot of conversation and all. I was in this idea, okay, I want to create a structure that has as little as possible hierarchy, that we create businesses with a lot of autonomy, as flat as possible. And so I read books about that. The Connected Company at the time, 2016, by Gray. I don't remember exactly his name, but yeah, it's Gray something. Daniel Gray or something.
I'll find it and I'll post it in the info on the website.
The Connected Company was very inspiring. There's pretty illustrations in it, and it's really interesting. But I think that one of the key books that I will recommend to people that want to start entrepreneurship, are interested in entrepreneurship, is a book by Scott Adams called How to Fail at Almost Everything and Still Win Big. And this book is super, super cool. Scott Adams is a comic book artist. We're very famous for creating Dilbert. And he's also an entrepreneur, a startup entrepreneur, restaurant entrepreneur. He's creating a lot of stuff. And now he has these political podcasts. He's 60-something, but he's really famous in the United States. And his book is about entrepreneurship, so about failing and still succeeding, and what are the methodologies, and some kind of autobiography. It's super funny. It's really hilarious. And it's really about all the concepts about experimentation, healthy lifestyle, how do you get your energy, what's the importance of dieting, what is the importance of sport, of the people that you meet, and all. It's really a mixture. And this book is often quoted by guys like Tim Ferriss, by a lot of people that are in this general entrepreneurship, self-improvement, energy vibe. So it really had a huge impact on me. That was really the starting point. Of course, the books of Tim Ferriss are really interesting. Not all of them, in my opinion, because I think I've read most of them. So I've been recently really unimpressed by Tribes of Mentor. That is, like, in my opinion, a bit too close to Tools of Titan, so I felt cheated. But that was interesting. About strategy and entrepreneurship, again, I got really deeply influenced by Good to Great by Jim Collins, which is a fantastic classic. I've read it. I have it in audiobook. I listen to it regularly. All the books of Jim Collins are amazing. So the old ones, the recent ones, super, super interesting. Like Great by Choice, or The Mighty Fall. Super nice.
All right. I'm just writing them down. So,
of course, one of the classics is 7 Habits, Stephen Covey. I mean, everybody will talk about that, and it's a really, really good classic. I just finished. So his son wrote a book called The Speed of Trust. Speed of Trust is really interesting. It's an increment. It's an increment on 7 Habits, and the 8th habit is also very good one.
How to find your voice and empower others to find theirs.
Yeah.
You don't know this story, but I share it quite a lot here on the podcast, because the habit number 4, always think win-win, is what the podcast is based on. I went on a holiday, and there was this book that was gifted by my fiancée, Neda, French-speaking and lovely person that supports me. And she said, this book will change your life. And I started reading it. And while thinking how to create and build the podcast, I had no entrepreneurship experience whatsoever. And I saw this principle and thought, how can I build my podcast to fulfill this, to be win-win for everyone? And as it seems, it works out quite well. I call this book the what's it called? The student's book. It's like, it's more of a something to learn from than just simply a book. In Bulgarian, it's učebnik. It's like something that you use to, like, textbook. It's the textbook. All right. Thanks. A great list of recommendations. We always ask for great books, and something that really came into my, like, perception while we were sharing. Today you said you haven't had enough sleep. You had plenty of coffee today, and you said, "Yeah, I'm going to have my workout," which is something that like sparks my interest, because I do my workout in the morning. And as now you mentioned this context about being overweight, being like full on like food and alcohol and less sleep and a lot of stress due to the circumstances that we cleared, what kind of personal care did you decide to start with when you said, okay, enough is enough, after this month of, okay, like fully clean eating? How did you decide, and what changed your perception into how important it is to take care of your own body, to move, to have proper food, to rest well, and so on and so on?
Well, it's a very long and big topic. Well, first of all, I always liked sport, but I've been in and out, and I was at that moment really out in 2015. So being back at it, and it started with self-healing. Then in How to Fail at Almost Everything and Still Win Big, there was this idea that this creates you the energy that you need for entrepreneurship, and I felt like that. Also, with entrepreneurship, so you need to build your energy capacity. You need to enlarge it, but you also I need to cope with a lot of stress, anxiety, challenges, and we all have our ways for dealing with this. But basically, I know that if I don't find my ways, like I know today that I need to exercise 1 to 2 hours per day to feel good, to feel happy that, okay, I'm accomplishing something, to see my progress. Also because I broke my back again last year. That was because of too much exercise and not careful enough. But I'm rebuilding my core, I'm rebuilding my back, I'm reworking on all of that. And I know how important it is, like to have this energy and all. I need to play music every day, also, or nearly every day, because I know that it's something creative that is part of my daily routine, and that it helps me be balanced. And when I'm not balanced, I know that it's going to go into drinking too much, not sleeping enough, eating junk food, and feeling bad, and just feeling sorry for myself and feeling more and more anxious, and it's just the downward spiral. So I'm like, okay, between being healthy and productive or being an alcoholic and depressed, let's go for more sport.
It's a clear choice, isn't it?
Well, you need to fight your own demons. So let's say in an objective, neutral way, if you are in control of yourself, it's obvious, but there are some moments where chocolate and junk food are pretty strong. So this is also what I'm fighting every day. So this is why sometimes I'm like, shit, I really don't want to work out. I really don't want to put these shoes. I don't want, but I still do it. I still do it because I've learned over the years that the price that I will pay if I'm not doing it is pretty high.
Yeah, this trade-off is extremely important. Yeah, awesome. Just forgot to mention the audiobook of the week, which is something that I do for our friends in Storytel. I recommend a book that's related to the conversations that we're having. And of course, after you pointing out Jim Collins' Good to Great. This is something that I've listened to in the Storytel app. I would highly recommend you guys to listen to Good to Great from Jim Collins or read it. It's an amazing book, truly a bestseller. And if you want to win 1 month of free Storytel, you need to paste a story or share a story on Instagram, tagging the Storytel and the Superhuman podcast, sharing your best book, your beloved book from their catalog. I would also want to make an additional suggestion for a book that probably people for Christmas will be looking for presents. A book that was sent to me by Hybrid Books, that are the publisher here in Bulgaria. The story of Robert Iger, Disney's CEO. It's called My Greatest Adventure. It is in Bulgarian, which is a great work by the whole team that translated this amazing book. It's about the person that started as an intern in a television company and became a CEO for 15 years, acquired Pixar, acquired Marvel, acquired Lucasfilms, an amazing person, a great leadership book. It's true. Basically, the whole book is a story. It's not telling you how to do things and what to do. It was just like sharing what he went through, very personal, very internalized through his viewpoint. Shared stories about Steve Jobs, an amazing entrepreneur, George Lucas, and other, like many other hard and challenging environments. And at the end, there's like a list of probably 4 or 5 pages of principles that he sticks to, which is for me an amazing way to share what you did and how this helped you, but not in a intrusive and very direct way. Basically, get us through your story and then tell us what your principles you're following to get through it. And as you said, like being honest, being friendly, and being direct with the others was helpful. Especially Michael Eisner, the previous CEO of Disney, almost ruined the whole Pixar deal, getting in conflict with Steve Jobs. And but Bob Iger directly approached Steve, and they became friends and started sharing. And Pixar became part of Disney, which is there's another amazing book. Have you heard of it? It's called Creativity Incorporated. Ed Catmull is the art director of Pixar. I mean, he was like the CEO on the art side, which is amazing. So, My Greatest Adventure by Bob Iger, amazing book, really great book. So, one of the last things that I really want to mention with a couple of words is how do you handle parenting together with entrepreneurship?
I hope pretty well. I hope. I'm doing what I can. You know, it's when you're a parent, it's always a question you ask yourself: Am I being a good parent? Yes or no? And you'll only know in 40 years. So, like Sigmund Freud was saying, the only 2 things you're sure about failing in life is president of the Republic and being a parent. So, yeah. So I'm doing my best. I think it's a very interesting and bizarre mix. So because my wife also comes a parent, they were entrepreneur. They had shops in Portugal. My grandparents, they were the startuppers of their time because they were farmers. So they came from Italy to France to start a new business. And so that they were the startup of their times. And my wife is really understanding and supportive of this whole idea of entrepreneurship. So that's perfect. We have this freedom, and I've built a lot of synergies in my life that are part of a whole concept of life. So I think it was like 15 years ago, 16 years ago. No, 2005, before moving to Belgium, I had the first job in Paris that I hated. I hated that job. And going to this awful job every morning was taking me 1 hour and a half of public transport. When public transport was not on strike, because
Yeah.
let's be fair, in Paris, you have one strike every week. And there were so many bodies because I had to walk, take the metro, then take the train, then take the bus, which are 3 different bodies. So the chances that one of these bodies is going to be on strike or dysfunctional, or it's just high. So my life was awful. At that time, I just hated my life. 3 hours every day in public transport. So it's like 2 days per week in public transport, 2 days of work in public transport. So I swore to myself that I would always try to be closer to my job as possible, to as close as possible. In Belgium, I was 15 minutes walk away. When we moved to Bulgaria, and we had our offices there, in beginning it was 10 minutes walk. 3 years ago, we were 4 minutes walk from where I'm living. Then we moved to a new office and we got 2 minutes walk. And now, in coming month, I'm going to move 40 seconds walk to the office. and I think at this stage I cannot do much better.
Yeah.
And so I spend a lot of time in the office, but I also bring my son there. So when I'm traveling for business, I'm always trying to take my wife and my son if it's possible, if it's compatible. We went to Japan 1 month, summer 2019 was just fantastic experience. And to live it as a family, it was really great. So my son is 7, and while video games and Pokemon are very interesting to him, that's cool because it's also very interesting to me. So we are learning Pokemon, and I'm trying to be somewhere between a father and his best friend, and I hope it works. But yeah, doing video games, it's a good sell for having a relationship with your kid.
Yeah, it's I would really love to have played some games with my father, but for him it was always like, you're wasting your time. Nevertheless, my brother became a semi-professional League of Legends player,
Wow.
and as soon as he brought his first gaming machine, we bought him his first computer, like gaming computer, real gaming computer. And my father was like, "Where did your brother get that amount of money, like from video games?" He never opened his mouth about video games anymore because at the time I was working, but my brother was 11th grade in high school, so he was very well known, like a jungler in League of Legends. So
Cool.
yeah, it was cool when he was working out and getting good grades, and he's not like as you described us gamers back in the days, like geeky, nerdy guys sticking together and not very like social, but focused on other things. And I really wanted to mention that people don't know this, but I'm a huge anime watcher, and I've been following. By the way, last Sunday was episode 999 of One Piece. It's the only thing that I'm following now. After I got disappointed in Bleach on probably season 2 or 3, and after Naruto and like Naruto's first like finished, and I watched Dragon Ball for a couple of seasons too, just to see what was that interesting about Dragon Ball. And I watched basically from the first episodes, and I really want to point out something that stands out in my, probably it's a cultural thing. Now you mentioned Japan. All these characters, the main antagonists, protagonists, like the main heroes, they're a bit dumber than everyone else. They're not very smart. They're extremely persistent. They eat a lot all the time, which is like to have the energy. They sleep a lot. So it's like things that somehow through these animations are being told to the kids. It's like be persistent, eat, sleep, and get friends. It's like this solves all the all like stories in these animes and mangas. Like like there's Naruto who is stupid and no one understands him. Luffy who is like totally crazy with his idea to become the king of all pirates. Son Goku who is basically a monkey boy that's like very stupid and very hungry all the time. He's like,
yeah, but okay, Son Goku is so it's a big topic. We can talk for hours, and thank you for mentioning it. It's a cultural thing. Manga. So I will know. I am not an expert. I'm not a PhD in manga and Japanese culture.
No,
so
we're just sharing.
So there will be plenty of mistakes in whatever I know, whatever I will say. But Japan post World War II is a country that has been devastated.
Mm-hmm.
They went aggressive. They tried to conquer Asia. They tried to conquer China. They failed. They got allied with the Nazis. The worst. They failed. They lost. They have been humiliated. Tokyo has been bombed. Hiroshima, Nagasaki, nuclear bombs, whatever. Their empire is devastated, and they have to rebuild everything. So the Japanese elite surviving at the time, they get together and they are like, okay, we are going to rebuild the great nation on a different basis. We don't have money. We are fucking bankrupt. We need to rebuild everything. We don't have food. It's just a disaster. And they decide to rebuild the country based on very solid morals. Everything was with food rations, so they decide what type of food they were going to give to the people so they can rebuild their bodies, so they can be healthy. It's based on algae, tofu, vegetables, a little bit of alcohol so people just don't get too much stressed. That's the 40s and the 50s. And that's also the moment where they are pushing for the creation of manga as an entertainment vessel. The 50s and the 60s, and they really push for having morals in the manga that will inspire people to behave in a certain way. So that's really a coordination between the business and the government. In Japan, it's a capitalistic environment, but at the same time, they cooperate a lot between business and government. And this is all. I think you really start to see interesting moral manga with Osamu Tezuka, Astro Boy, 60s, 70s. He's produced so much. I'm such a big fan of Tezuka. And what you get as an inspiration, then you see it in the 80s of these heroes that are fearless, that have morals. Son Goku, I think, is really a draft of the moral heroes from the 90s because at the same time, Son Goku is fucking selfish.
He is.
He's super selfish. He wants to fight the strongest in the world, and he does not hesitate because he's so confident in his own strength. It's Saga Freezer and the cyborgs, but he does not hesitate to heal his adversary, to have a fair fight. Despite his knowledge that if he fails, humanity is going to be destroyed. So other heroes would have just finished the opponent when he was weak, and he does not do that. His priority is to have a fair fight and to prove that he's the strongest. So you don't have this anymore with the moral shonen. So moral shonen from the 90s, they are really this thing that you have a hero. Yes, he's a bit dumber. He's not the smartest. You always have a second character that is smarter. You always have a genius. You have smarter people like Nick Robin in One Piece or Neji in Naruto. This kind of archetypes. But the main character needs to be relatable. So he cannot be too
courageous.
Smart. He has to be extremely brave, selfless. He does not think for himself. He thinks about the others first. And it does not have an egocentric thing. It's really a hero that is selfless, that is relatable, that is not born with some specific either. He's not smarter, he's not tougher, he's just
average.
He's just average. So in Bleach, it's a bit different. It's not born average, but you have this a lot. And so you really have this morality that is quite inspiring. In the end, there's a lot of also the general Asian philosophies, some kind of Shintoism, Buddhism, Confucianism. It's really interesting, and it's part of the things that make me love a lot the Japanese manga, because they are way deeper, I think, in the psyche and the human relationship, and there's more emotions, more complex than American comics. That
Absolutely.
That end up being super shallow.
Yes, absolutely.
I mean, not everything is bad, but they are very shallow, and they don't get into emotions. They don't get into personal dilemmas.
Yeah.
They always stays in the action and stuff.
Have you just to illustrate what you're saying? Have you watched or seen any like comic book or movie about Spider-Man training or trying to become better and better and better? It's like battle after battle after battle after like some love drama to spice it up. But all these, even like my girlfriend is like, why do you keep watching this? You have been watching it for like 15. I started it when I was in university. So for the last 15 years, probably, about 15 years, I followed One Piece. I started like watching the first 200, 300 episodes, and now I'm following it every Sunday. Every Sunday when I wake up, I just open and watch it just to see what happened in an episode. Which is, for me, it's, I always try to look for, now doing the podcast, because podcast started like 5.5 years ago, I'm looking, okay, there are things that are comparable from the manga for the perseverance, nakama, which is the family, the friends, the close circle of people that are helping me, like your friends, like Alex and Laurent, and the team that you're forming. It's always these things that are so relatable now to me. Like, I'm doing my best, I'll become better. Okay, this battle will make me better for the next battle, for the next battle, for the next battle. There's always like this struggle of like, I fail, there's this circle that you go through, someone helps you, you become better, and then it's the next bigger battle, which is amazing for me.
Right now, I'm extremely grateful for a lot of things in my life. We grew our business from 3 to 150 people out of our energy and motivation and a lot of luck. But I'm very grateful for a few things. First of all, I'm very grateful to Bulgaria and Bulgarian in general, because this is where it really happened. And I know the environment here has been really fertile, and it really pushed me. I do believe in energies, and every time I was down, or every time I am down and I need some energy, I know that I find a lot of solace and help into just watching the mountain, watching Vitosha, which is beautiful mountain, and I'm like, okay, you have your problems. Someone said some shit on the internet or whatever, and it's important for you now. But actually, you are just in front of this mountain that is several 100 million years old, if not billion years old. And your existence is just it's one leaf on this mountain, and it's nothing. So just chill, just get the energy of this mountain that is there, standing still, that will survive anything, will survive fire, earthquakes, anything. The mountain will be there, unless there's a huge comet that smashes it. And even that, it's a mountain. So I find a lot of energy in this, and the context I have in Bulgaria, I'm very grateful. I know that I'm living the life I live because I'm here. So this is also why I want to contribute. And I'm of course grateful to my friends, my teams, my family, everybody that's part of the mix. But I'm very grateful to the knowledge and the culture I got from anime and manga. Because yes, when there are awful moments that you need to go through as an entrepreneur, well, the energy, the inspiration I got from the shonen characters, that yes, they come out of nowhere often, and they always find the energy to stand up. They get smashed in the you always have these scenes that are always cliche. The hero gets smashed and smashed and smashed by the guy, and is finding the energy somehow to power up, and to awaken and just to go beyond. And it's always, I think, this metaphor that when you lose, when you suffer, you can learn, and actually the failure and the suffering is a necessary step for learning and to overcome your challenge and to just transcend yourself. And you always have this idea of transcendence in the anime. Son Goku, who the first time he's transforming as a Super Saiyan, the air is I mean, the author Toriyama really explained that he wanted to have like a lotus flower to remind of the Buddha transcendence to the nirvana. And you have always this idea of transcendence when heroes are they are facing horrible challenges, something that they cannot overcome right now, and they transcend themselves and they find something else, like the seventh sense in Saint Seiya. With One Piece, you always have this awakening now. They are developing this stuff. And it's always the same thing behind, which I think is it's fantastic. You don't have it in comic books. Very, very rarely they open to their cosmos and they open to the energy. So in the anime, you have this thing, and I think it's very well connected to the reality of human beings. That when we are confronted with very big challenges, we have to transcend ourselves so we can overcome them, and we grow from this. And there is also this nearly unlimited potential in the human mind and in the human body, that depending on how you connect and how you focus, and you can really be capable of creating amazing things and being super focused. There's this time where you are in the zone and you are 2 hours super focused on a problem, and you will be extremely productive. So that's a form of transcendence compared to other times for 10 hours you're going to procrastinate and do shit. So there's really this idea that we can transcend ourselves with what we have. I'm super grateful for this learning.
One of the things that really inspired me when I talked to you the first time was I was asking, what do you see that much in Bulgaria actually? And you basically told me, are you joking? It's like the South Park is like 2 minutes away, and the Borisov Garden is like 10 minutes away, and the mountain is like 15 minutes away. So sometimes we living here, we don't spot it. It's just in front of our eyes, but we have the season, we have the sun you already mentioned, we have the nature, which is amazing and really but the key to our happiness is what you just said. It's about being grateful for what you have, and not being overly overly high expectations about what are you going to get and what you don't have and maybe have one day. So this is great, and I really admire you for being here and trying to improve Bulgaria by being here and making the company here and staying here because you love it, not because it's just like one economic type of way, but just because you want to.
Well, it's true that with my wife, so my wife is Portuguese. I'm French. We met here. Yes, we met in Bulgaria. That's always the joke. I met my wife in Bulgaria. Is she Bulgarian? No, she's Portuguese. Okay. So our son speaks Bulgarian, speaks French, Portuguese, and English. He's 7. He's really a product of this mixture. He's born here. But so now that the business is developing, it will be a bit more complex to start again somewhere else. But when the business was smaller, we were often asking ourselves with my wife. She's from a seaside town in Portugal, from Figueira da Foz. Yeah. So she's not so much in love with the mountain. I love the mountain; it's different. But for her, she would like to be closer to the sea. And we've been talking okay, do we see ourselves in Bulgaria for how many years? What do we want to do? Is it the right place to raise a kid? Is it good for us, etc.? And we've been comparing all capitals. It's been like a hobby for us to really look for the ideal capital for us to live in the world. And we both agreed that actually Bulgaria is an excellent mix for us because we want to stay in Europe. There's this idea of we want a neutral ground, because if we go and live in Portugal, it will be our territory. If we go and live in France, it will be my territory. So we need to find something that is neutral. We need to find some place that we love, that we have our friends and all. So here is perfect. And there's a balance of a lot of things between business, nature, access to other countries. In the end, you can have access to the sea in 2-3 hours drive. And for education, it's great. I mean, there's a very cool French school in Sofia. Our son is there. So, I mean, in the end, it's ticking all the boxes, and it's really nice. And every time, so pre-COVID, I've been at some point traveling a lot. Like minimum once a month, I was in a plane. Minimum it was to go to Paris, but sometimes it was 2 or 3 times. In September, I've been traveling to Kiev in Ukraine, to Prague, and to Paris. And I've been to Japan, I've been to Las Vegas, to the States and all. And every time I come back from amazing places, I'm like, wow, I've been in this great capital. I've been in Budapest, it was fantastic. I was in Berlin, it was incredible. I was in Tokyo, wow, that was a blast. And I'm like, and then now I'm back in Bulgaria. Am I going to hate it? Am I going to be like, I've been at the top of the top best capital ever. I got the best food. I've seen the incredible stuff. I fear I'm going to hate it in Bulgaria. And so I'm out of the plane, and every time I'm asking myself that, and every time I'm in the taxi on Tsarigradsko Chaussee, I see the mountain, I see the business buildings that are developing. I have this road that goes through Borisova Gradina to the Mall Paradise. This is where we are. And I see the mountain just majestic. And I'm like, yeah, no, actually, I love it. It's very good. It's very good. Bulgaria, actually, the airport is close. You don't have so much traffic. You have a lot of greenery. I think it's one of the greenest capital in Europe. I don't know what's exactly the density. I searched for that, but for sure, there's huge parks that you don't see anywhere else. Anywhere else, they would have made malls and buildings. In Paris, you don't have a lot of parks. And in Sofia, you have access to nature super easily. This weekend, in 20 minutes, we were in Vitosha and we were picnicking. It's just this quality of life is just fantastic. And everything else is good. I mean, probably a foreigner that would leave France to live in Bulgaria 30 years ago. I have some friends that arrived here in the 90s. I'm like, wow, guys, you've been adventurous.
Yeah.
Pre-internet, pre-European Union, like, wow, okay, you guys you've been somewhere. But in 2021, it's so developed, and there's so much potential. I think it's just fantastic. So yeah, we have this deal with my wife that I think another 10 or 15 years here, no problem.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks for this. There are things that I believe that Sofia would need to take care of. One is like pollution. Another thing is like to make it more greener means more greenery outside of the parks, because now I know some people park on the sidewalks and stuff like this, but we are getting there. Hopefully, we'll keep this steady improvement. One thing that really was really important to me to ask you, when you said in 2010 that you knew that making money is easy. This is something that I battle a lot with, and I really want to take your input on how did you change your perspective about money into like the perception of making money is easy, and then how did the reality transformed it back to, okay, it's easy, but you need to take care of like bringing value? Or
But I was wrong. I was really wrong. I was naive. I was a fucking idiot. Making money is extremely hard. It's very, very hard. Every penny counts. It's that was a fucking mistake. I was just so naive and delusional and full of myself, and that's what happened to a lot of entrepreneurs, of people that are successful a bit too young. For example, I've known poker players that made millions when they were 18.
yeah,
You're 18 years old, you know nothing, and you won $2 million on a poker tournament.
yeah,
Well, it's very hard to stay sane, especially in poker. You have the temptations of drugs, prostitution,
Alcohol.
escort girls, alcohol, and splashing in a 5-star hotel and first business class travels and whatever, and really thinking that you're amazing. And some of these guys, they were successful too young, and 10 years after, they're completely broke. They lost all their money in bullshit, in gambling, and they are just alcoholic, broken people that don't know how to do anything with their lives. I think, and in business, in internet business, in startups, you also have this, that some people are just successful too early, and they just lose it. So I think that for us, failing early enough to be bankrupt at 31, I think it was a blessing in disguise, because it taught us a lot of humility and reminded us that life is hard, really hard. And when you're lucky, you need to identify your luck. Because with the emailing business, we had this arrogance to think that we were successful because we were smart. So we were successful because we were lucky, that we had a good intuition, that we were not so stupid. But we didn't identify that we were on a very specific spot, that we were number one for this type of services on the French market. It was a niche of the niche, but we were number one for a while. And we could have sold the business, we could have developed it. We just went wrong with it. So now I have this metaphor. I like to think of entrepreneurship, like surfing. Sometimes as a surfer, you will be waiting hours, if not days, for a good wave. You want to see the epic wave, the 25-meter wave, and ride it. And once you have the wave, when it's coming, well, fucking ride it. And ride it as long as you can. And entrepreneurship is this. Sometimes you will be waiting for 5-6 years for a wave to come, which was our case. We had a wave in the beginning that was the email business. We just screwed it and nearly drowned with it and reached the bottom of the ocean. And after that, we found new waves. And now I'm like, no, money is not easy at all. A lot of things can come on the way. Maybe tomorrow I have cancer. Maybe people will die. Maybe it's betrayals. Something are coming their way, so I need to be prepared. So now I'm not conservative exactly, but I want to say that now I accept that I'm really not that smart, and that I'm very lucky, and that I have to surf this wave for as long as it's possible.
Awesome. Amazing answer, and thank you very much for sharing it, because failing early is a blessing. It can be a blessing in disguise. Is basically an amazing quote that I really hope that people will look into it, because a failure can be your biggest lesson, can be your most important lesson in life. It was in mine. So being naive and thinking that someone is going to help me, and not seeing through this the entire game, was something that left me jobless, homeless, etc., etc.
Well,
penniless.
There's always this saying, people always, when you tell your story and people are like, yeah, that's cool, that's easy and all. First of all, when you go through some really hard stuff, 2014, 2015, I remember that the number of friends that I had, there was less than my fingers. And when you're down, when you're going down, you see the people that stop answering the phone, the people that are less interested with you, and you see them coming back when you're more successful, and you're like, yeah, I'm not going to forget. I'm not going to say anything, but I will remember. And you always have these people that will say, what does not kill you makes you stronger, which is kind of cool, but is very shallow. And the reality is, what does not kill you makes you stronger, but very often it's going to kill you. And we always talk about success stories because it's fun, it's inspiring. But let's not forget that 90+% of the entrepreneurship stories are just failures and catastrophes and tragedies, and that it's just the battlefield is littered with dead bodies of entrepreneurs that went bankrupt, that were burning out, that suicided, that are mentally broken and cannot do anything else. I have so many horrible stories of people that just burnt out and never managed to be operational again. I have a friend that is not capable of working anymore after his burnout as an entrepreneur, and he's scared of taking planes, and he has a job as a receptionist now, and this is what it is.
Yeah. It is, life is really can be challenging, and we need to learn the lessons on the way. I have two final questions. First, about the Bluebeard. Of course, I guess that everyone that's watched it would be asking, okay, why is this guy having a blue beard?
I'm just born like that. Born this way.
Yeah, you're born this way. Okay.
No, it's I think it's a general reflection about brand marketing and how I want to be and how do I feel. I think it started as a reflection, when you're nobody, and how do you become someone that will be noticed. So I started to have different reflections on this, and some books of Tim Ferriss are also connecting a bit on this, and Tim Ferriss as a brand marketer is pretty good. But I think that the click was 2014, I think. My wife was having a photo exhibition in Portugal in the embassy of Bulgaria. So she had created a set of pictures for Bulgarian roses, the Rose Festival in Kazanlak.
Yeah.
And she had this exhibition in the Bulgarian embassy in Lisbon. And I was in Portugal, and I didn't have anything special to dress for an embassy. We go to some random Zara, and I find this jacket that is red, flashy, and I'm like, wow, this is, nobody can wear this. It's too flashy, so it's for me. And I took it. I liked it. It worked. And I went to it was the poker years. So we went to this huge gaming show, ICE, in London. And I was like, okay, I'm going to take this red jacket. At least I will be visible. And everybody was like, wow, so cool, your jacket. I want the same. Where do you get it? I want a selfie with you. That was so fun. So I had a lot of positive feedback. I was like, okay, that's cool. And the next year I went to the same show with a normal jacket. I was like, okay, I don't feel like having a red jacket all the time. And I went to see a lot of people that I met, and they were like, who are you? I was like, but we met last year. Oh, you're the guy with the red jacket. Yeah. But they're like, okay, I'm just a red jacket to you. Fine. So now I'm the guy with the red jacket. So I built this thing about the red jacket and all, and that works amazing. Yeah. That works amazing. And one thing leading to another. Basically, when we quit, when we had this other business with Trixie at one point, I couldn't be eccentric, because having a beard is already considered eccentric. You had to be super clean because you're going to meet corporate people, business people, banks, insurance companies. Yeah. So already, if you don't have a tie, it's like,
suit
wow.
And tie,
yeah. If you just have a shirt and no tie, you're already allowed not to have a tie because you're an internet guy. Tech people, okay, that's already extreme. And when we 2019, when we were on the way out of Trixie, I started being like, okay, I'm free. It's my business. I can really do whatever I want. I don't have to send reports to Paris. I don't have to justify for toilet papers and stuff. And I went into more experiments for being like, okay, I want to continue trying something fun. So I started because there was the red suit, so I made a red bird. Then I tried different colors. I tried purples. I tried the bleached, blonde, and all. I had several stuff. So it was really 2019. I made maybe I started 2018. I don't remember. And then I experimented. And so basically, bleached blonde, people are like, well, he's blonde. So it's cool, but it's not cool. They think it's natural. When you're red, they think you're Irish. They're like, okay, yes, it's a bit red, it's a bit flashy, but you're Irish, right? No. Purple is too dark, so it's not very visible. And I think it really started during COVID that I wanted to experiment with blue. I always wanted to experiment with blue. And when
It's a French color, isn't it?
It's one of the French colors. And when I experimented with blue, people were like, wow, that's cool. And I had a lot more positive feedback with blue than with other colors. So let's say it was just the result of A/B testing with different colors. And at least with blue, there's really not a lot of people that think that it's actually natural. There's one or two people that are like, is it natural? Yeah, it's a genetic disease. I'm born with this. It's actually a life tragedy. No, but most people understand that blue is really not normal.
Yeah. All right. Thanks for sharing. It's a wonderful branding lesson that you gave here. I realized that having a podcast called the Superhuman Podcast with Georgi Nenov actually creates two brands, and it is my way of having a blue beard. I have a podcast, so it's.
But you could have a blue beard as well.
Yeah, I'm a very. It's
make it green, so we are not two with a blue beard.
It can be like white, green, red, like the flag. Yeah, I'm not into beards. It's just like not my thing. Just a little bit.
You can have a star tattoo on your forehead.
Yeah. Not into tattoos. I mean, I really I thought about putting a tattoo on myself. I really wanted it to be like a memorabilia of my beloved grandfather that died like 20 years ago, but I cannot find the right message that I ever want to carry. I carry him here. It's I thought about it. The last question would be in regards to making Bulgaria even better place, and what would you think that we should do as a society to make Bulgaria even better place to live and work and enjoy?
Oh yeah, that's very easy. You invest in education and you raise kids, you make kids and you raise them properly. And you need to have good schools, good teachers. And it's not a quick fix, but in 1 or 2 generations, you will have a much better country if you have good schools, good universities, and good people that can raise good kids. This is very simple, and at the same time, it's not simple at all. Because the level of education in most countries is going down, and it's not a priority of most governments. So I don't know about Bulgaria. What I see is that a lot of the people that we get in interviews for jobs, I'm not even looking at the university they did because it's not really relevant or meaningful. I'm interested in what they are, what's their potential. But we are redoing the education of a lot of the people because they've learned wrong stuff somewhere else, and we have our own way of doing things that we believe is better. But still, I believe that if you want a better country in, let's say, 20 years, education. The kids of today are the adults of tomorrow, and you want them to know how to behave, how to be respectful. What you was, I mean, there's still a lot of people that are disrespectful of the others in Bulgaria. I won't go into the vaccination conversation. Please, let's not talk about that. Let's just talk about the people leaving dirt on the streets, parking on pedestrians, crossing, throwing the cigarettes, going in the mountain and leaving their trash everywhere, being noisy and disrespectful, being not nice in a general thing. I'm not saying that a lot of people are like that, but you don't need a lot. You need just 5% of the population like that to have a toxic environment. And from my experience, so 13 years here, I believe that there's a big shift in generations. So people, the people that are below 35, below 30, I think that they are a lot more open-minded and that they are more receptive and they want change. They want to see something happening. So I hope that these people, if they are what I think that they are uh, like messengers of hope, that they can have hope. I hope that these people will make kids and that they will raise their kids properly. And I hope that these kids will have good education in school and that the school are going to teach them some good stuff and that they can progress and they can stay. Because they also have to stay and they also have to have enough opportunities. Because every time a country has someone that is smart with potential that is leaving to another country because Germany, France, United States, Japan is more attractive, it's a tragedy. It's the country that is bleeding talent. I mean, if all the good people are leaving and only the idiots are staying, doesn't smell very good. So we need to keep the good people.
Awesome. Adrien, thank you very much for being here, for sharing your wonderful story.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for trying to help to make Bulgaria better and better. And I really believe that the kids are today are the adults of the future, and they bring the future with them. Thank you for having your business here from 3 to 80 people. 80 or 150?
So we say 150 total.
Wow.
60 people in Sofia and 90 people around the globe, mainly artists.
Awesome.
Because for artists, we could not find all the artists we wanted in Bulgaria. The pool is too small. So now we are really developing our the talent tentacles a bit everywhere. So we have artists from Chile, United States, France, Japan, everywhere.
For 3 to 60 people only in Sofia is amazing. So I wish ChibiPhoenix to be a growing Phoenix.
Well, I hope.
Bigger and bigger.
I hope it can become an obese Phoenix with several hundred people in Sofia, and that that we can be prosperous, generous, and there's this idea as a game studio. We want to provide entertainment. We want to entertain people, but as a company, we also want to somehow be positive to the ecosystem. And how are you positive to the ecosystem? Well, by creating a lot of jobs, well paid, with good conditions, and a lot of training. You teach the best practices. You teach the good values, and this is how you grow the bubble and that you are positive. As a business, this is the best we can do, and we are doing everything we can to grow this.
Okay, awesome. If you are interested in joining ChibiPhoenix, you'll find them online, and I'm sure that you can find the job board. Are you on job board of DivBG? Are you? Maybe.
I think we have been pretty much everywhere. If we are not now, we have been for sure.
Okay, awesome. Or if you cannot find any links to ChibiPhoenix, which would be highly unlikely, you can message me and I will gladly forward your email or message to them. Thank you, Adrien, for being here. Thank you for being with us in the last almost 3 hours. It has been an amazing story about a French person being here and making the business here, where we have all the challenges that we're really facing, but actually all the opportunities that there are and the positives, of course. If you have been following the Superhuman podcast, you know that's been only quite a few exclusive episodes in English. So this is one of them now. Thank you for being here with us for the last 3 hours yet again. Share this podcast if you are interested in gaming or if you want to continue spreading the good word and positive stories. Thank you for being here with us on the Superhuman podcast, where we share inspiring stories every Tuesday. Up until next week. See you. Bye.